Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us for today's Spring State Tournament Bracket Breakdown Show. My name is Gage Nutter and I'm a high school sports reporter at Mass Live. I'm so happy to be here with you at the studios at Franklin TV to break down these brackets. We got them hot off the presses. We got boys volleyball, we have boys rugby, and girls rugby. There's going to be state champions crowned here in the next few weeks, and it's going to be really exciting to find out who those champions will be. And I'm excited to do it here today, but I'm not alone. I've got my partner in crime, Pete Royce, here with me today. Pete, how are you feeling?
Feeling great, Gage. It's hard to believe the spring season is at playoff time. Always exciting, and even in the two sports you mentioned, rugby and tennis, a lot of performers, a lot of dreams being followed, being pursued in rugby and in tennis. Can't wait to see this tournament take shape in the very short weeks ahead.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see coming into this final postseason of the school year. Will there be teams that win their first ever state titles, win their first title, in decades, or will there be teams that are able to sort of, lock in their dynasties and win another consecutive title? It's all going to be really fun and exciting to see and to find out. And what's special about the spring as well in comparison to other postseasons where, let's say things don't go your way in the fall, you can say well, at least I have hoops in the winter.
Yeah.
Or things don't go your way in the winter, well, at least I have lax in the spring. But for these seniors, it's go time. This is it.
This is it. They don't win. They're thinking about it all summer long until the seniors get on to college, and then they'll have other things to think about back there. But it is right. It's an exciting point of view. Ends the whole year. So for school administrators and principals and coaches, it's the time to kind of wrap it all up and take a deep breath. But one more big gallant effort to close out the season here this year.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to break down these brackets, and I'm happy to be here with Pete to do it. But before we do, we have a couple guests here as well. It's talking about student athletes as they get ready for this final push. We're going to be talking to a few student athletes here from a couple different schools. And to get us going, I want to start with, if we can, boys rugby. And if we're going to talk about Division I boys rugby, you have to talk about BC High, the BC High Eagles, as they prepare for their run here moving forward into the state tournament. And I think we have a couple Eagles maybe here on the line. Do we have the Eagles here with us? Anyone from the Eagles today? Going once.
Well, perhaps we're a little bit early, so we have maybe a couple of more minutes to kind of get
Yeah, sure. As they get locked in, let's just take a look here at what the Eagles have done here these last few years. They are the reigning champions. They're undefeated going into the tournament, going for their 5th title in program history. As I said, they won last year against Xaverian, a Catholic Conference foe, 40-38. So they could lock down their first title since 2021. They played the Xaverian again earlier this regular season, won another close match, 36-35. So they've been through that adversity. Obviously a program, like I said, that is battle tested and has that championship pedigree from last year. They got a couple guys who not only started on the football team for BC High, a really good BC High football team this last year, also starring on the pitch for the rugby team. You got Conrad Babka, Mikey Smith, Owen Hurley, Brennan Blind, and Charlie Thomason. Thomason was huge at the end of that Xaverian match, from what I understand, had a late kick to give them that lead over the Hawks. They're all key players. Babcock had 3 tries in a win over Belmont earlier this month. So Coach Paul Carty has himself quite a group again this year. But let's take a look. Do we have the Eagles here? Are they ready? Are they here to join us? Well, if they aren't, we can also take a look, if we can, here at the rest of Division I as we wait to see if the Eagles are going to be able to join us. I mentioned Xaverian. They're the number 2 seed in this year's tournament. As I mentioned, fell in that title game to BC High last year. And Xaverian, they've got pretty big wins on their resume this year against St. John's Prep, Milton, and Weymouth. And Weymouth, new to Division I this year, moved up from Division II after winning the D2 state championship last year. Xaverian, they have a tie with Belmont to open the year. Since then, though, Luke Bell has been a star for the Hawks, just like he was on the football field. He's a multi-sport star at Xaverian, football and rugby. Great football player at linebacker, kicker, and punter, but also leading the way on the pitch as well for the Hawks. So they got the number 2 seed. And Belmont, as I mentioned, they have that tie with Xaverian. They were able to lock down that 3 spot. And then Weymouth at 4, mentioned them coming from Division 2 to Division 1 this school year. They've got Naheem Rador on the pitch for them, who's another multi-sport star. He's going to play football at Marist next year. But before he does that, he's been running over people on the rugby pitch as well.
Yeah, you wonder about the comparisons with football and rugby. It seems like the same type of profile in terms of size and power would help you on either field. So it's not surprising that you see some overlap with those schedules. And hopefully we'll have a chance to talk to some BC players.
Yeah, so let's take a look. We just took a quick run there at those 4 teams in Division 1. And if BC High is going to want to be champions again, they're going to have to beat a couple of these teams. But we'll give one last look here. Do we have the Eagles in the building? Anybody from BC High around? Maybe, maybe not. Working hard in the back. We're trying to get those guys on. Don't know if we have them here or not. But I mentioned when it comes to Eagles, when it comes to that win last year against Xaverian in the championship game, it was their first win in a title game since 2021. And so that program last year was able to get back to the mountaintop with that win against the Hawks in the close game last year.
I'm amazed at their scores this year, Gage. You know, they beat opening game Weymouth 57-14. A big win there, and I hear some noise in the background, so maybe our students are gathering around on Zoom. Then the squeaker with Xaverian 36-35, win at St. John, win versus St. John's Prep, a big win there, 49-15. And then Belmont 54-19. I don't know how they did this. Milton 87-17. That's a lot of tries, as you would say.
Right, and we'll maybe talk to them a little bit about what they've been able to do this year. I think we have them. Do we have some Eagles here? Are the Eagles here today with us?
Oh, there you are. You're in it.
Sounds like they're there. There we go.
Gentlemen, hello. Can you hear us?
Oh, there we are.
I see Conrad.
Are you on mute?
You might be mute. Gentlemen, can you hear us?
I think we have them. We have some Eagles here.
Yeah, we're here.
Okay.
Hey, there they are. So I see Mr. Babka, and we have another gentleman here as well. My name is Gage Netter. We're here with Mass Live. I'm with Mass Live and here with Pete Royce from Franklin TV, just talking about...
Yeah, we have the YouTube pulled up.
We have the YouTube
So-
link outside because we can't
We
hear you.
can't hear you.
You might have to pull up the Zoom, gentlemen. Okay, we might be having some technical difficulties here with the Eagles on their end. But this is showbiz, folks. This is live TV. This is the way it works. So we'll see if we can get back here to the Eagles in a minute once they figure out maybe their technical difficulties. I think they have to get on the Zoom link. But so happy that they're able to kind of take some time to be here with us. But Pete, if we can, I do want to, if we can kind of keep this moving here a little bit, I do want to take a look, just staying with rugby for a moment, taking a look at girls rugby, because we're going to be speaking with some players from the Belmont girls rugby team here soon. I do want to hop over to that side of things here if we can, just for a moment. Because if you're going to talk about girls rugby in the state of Massachusetts, you have to talk about Belmont if we're going to stay on this sport. Just for a moment, we talked about it a little bit before the show started. Belmont, 6-time reigning champs. Count that, 6-time reigning champions in the MIAA. They dominated last season. They dominated the season before that, and basically every season they've had before that one. They won their first round game against Lincoln Sudbury last year by over 65, and they won the title match against Weymouth last year 80-0. Yeah. And they're back again this spring. They've only given up points once this season in a win against Weymouth earlier in the year, 59-7. The rest, all shutouts. So anything can happen, but I'm looking at girls rugby and it feels like Belmont are in the driver's seat in this tournament.
It must have just a tremendous tradition of Belmont running the table so many years in a row. You know, you mentioned the title game 80-0. The first game this year, 80-0. Something about 80. I don't know how you score 80 points, but that's a lot of points going through. You know, over the course of what, a 70-minute game, something like that.
Sure.
So the win at versus Needham, huge, 80-0. Lincoln Sudbury, 47-0. Algonquin, 56-0. When Weymouth scored that 7 points, it probably was cause for great celebration.
You'd imagine.
The only points scored against Belmont all year long. They close it out. Cambridge, Rindge, and Latin, 40-0. So
yes.
284 points for, 7 points against. Amazing tally by the Belmont team. They're really exceptional.
Not too bad at all. And you ask, how do you score 80 points? How do you do that? I think we're going to be able to chat with some of the ladies from the girls rugby team here in a minute, maybe in a few minutes. But before we do, just taking a look at the rest of that field, if we can. Number 2 seed when it comes to girls rugby, I see Lincoln Sudbury, which I mentioned, a program that Belmont played last year in that first round and won by over 65 points. But Lincoln Sudbury there at number 2, and you've got Weymouth at number 3. You can't forget about the Wildcats. As I mentioned, the only team to put up points on Belmont this year,
Right.
And we're in that title game last year. And Kendall Crowley has been a key contributor this spring when it comes to getting points on the board for the Wildcats. And at number 4, rounding it out when it comes to the 4 teams in the girls rugby bracket, is Brookline, the Brookline Warriors. So when it comes to the side of the bracket that Brookline's on, if I'm not seated corrected, I'm pretty sure they're going to play Belmont first.
Yep, 4 versus 1, so that'll be Brookline at Belmont. And the other side of the bracket, Weymouth will be at Lincoln Sudbury. Lincoln Sudbury's only loss of the season, because they came in with a good record of 5-1, was of course to Belmont, and
right.
that 47-0 score. So I'm sure for Lincoln Sudbury, they have on their mind they have to get by Weymouth, which is not a done deal.
Right.
If they do, and Belmont cruises over Brookline, you're looking at that matchup between Lincoln Sudbury and Belmont for the state championship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And going back to just talking about Belmont's, I'm really curious when it comes to being a program that can win and have that type of consistency year after year. You'd imagine sometimes with high schools or high school athletics, maybe you get a really good class. There might be a class that's really good, and it's maybe a year you got, it's like, oh, wait till we're seniors, and then we're going to be great, and then the team is great, but then sometimes there's a drop-off the year after. Belmont, they just seem to be right here, year after year.
And you wonder if, like in other sports, that there's a great feeder program in Belmont, which keeps that pipeline going consistently. And that's how, teams just do it. They have to have teams so that when you graduate a bunch of stars, you got those waiting stars coming up. And I'd be curious if we get a chance to talk to the Belmont rugby girls, if that in fact is true, that they have a chance to play at a very young age.
Absolutely. Well, let's see. Let's ask the questions here if we have them for us. Do we have any Marauders in the building from Belmont? Do we got Belmont girls rugby here?
Hi. Yes.
Yep. Sounds like we do.
I think we do. Hello, and thank you for joining the show. Who do we have here? Who do we have joining us from Belmont?
My name's Tabitha Kambaza, and Robin should be joining us shortly.
Okay, Tabitha. Well, I'm so happy to have you here on the show. Thank you for joining us, and we'll keep an eye out for Robin as well. But if we can, Tabitha, so would you say what grade you are?
I'm a senior in high school.
Got you. So, Tabitha, we were just talking about it. When it comes to the strength of this program at Belmont, just looking at it on paper, the consistency, not just in the regular season, but in the postseason as well. Just look, 6-time reigning champions. The first word I think of is culture, and rugby culture. That's something that doesn't graduate. That's something that stays within a program year after year. And so I guess my first question to you, if I can, it's probably a complicated answer, but how has Belmont girls rugby been able to be this strong year after year? You're an upperclassman. You've been involved. What is it about this consistency? Why do you feel like you guys as a program have been able to stay near the top year after year?
I definitely think one thing that has attributed to our success over the years is just how welcoming, not just the upperclassmen are, but just everyone who plays as a whole. Coming into rugby freshman year, I didn't really know many people, but I think by joining the rugby community, all the seniors were just so welcoming, and it was just a sport that I wanted to play because the people were just so great. And I think people come in each year not knowing how to play, and for example, I came in not knowing the sport at all, not really knowing much, but you learn as you go on day by day. And just the people who surround you love the sport and want you to learn it. And so I think just like the community and the culture that's there, I think is what really keeps us strong.
Tabitha, is there a feeder program in Belmont where you can play at a lower level besides high school to kind of get prepped for the competition of high school?
No, there isn't,
Wow.
but in Massachusetts, there's a lot of opportunities to play rugby as a girl. Like I had already played rugby like freshman year, but after freshman year, I joined Mystic Girls Rugby and the Free Jacks program, which really just helped me strengthen my skills, like when the season wasn't happening.
Cool. Interesting. Has Robin joined us or not? Are you riding solo, Tabitha? We can take a look.
Yes.
I'm here.
Hey, Robin. Well, thank you so much for joining the show. Thank you for taking the time. So same kind of question we sort of had for Tabitha. I don't know if you kind of heard it when we first started, but when it comes to this program at Belmont, just looking at it on paper, the consistency is at such a high level these last few years, maybe more than few years, really, when it comes to Marauder girls rugby. So I'm curious, for you, from your perspective, I'm not sure if you play other sports at Belmont as well and have been able to be a part of different programs or of other sports, but what is it just when it comes to Belmont rugby? Why is there so much pride in this program? Why do you feel like everybody is so bought in and the program has been able to stay at such a high level, especially these last few years?
Honestly, I think it's a lot of the team culture that we are able to create. As a team, I think we're really good at forming relationships with each other, and obviously doing stuff off the field kind of helps with the relationship you have with your team on the field. I think that's definitely something that we're really good at, is bringing that kind of support from each other as friends, and bringing that support onto the field really helps us be successful.
Got you. And I'm going to ask the same question here to Tabitha in a minute, but I'm curious just from your perspective first, Robin. So did you say you're a senior this year, Robin, or what grade are you?
Yes, I'm a senior.
And have you been involved with rugby since freshman year?
I have, yes.
Got you. So you're a lifer, you're bought in, you've been, this is, I guess, version 4.0 of Belmont girls rugby that you've been a part of. And I'm sure there's been so many great memories, a lot of deep postseason runs, a lot of trophy hoisting and things of the like. I'm sure a lot of team hangouts. But I'm curious, you still have the postseason to go, so maybe your favorite moment hasn't happened yet. But from what the games you've played so far and the times you've had with the team so far, what would you say is your favorite moment that you've had as a Belmont girls rugby player, do you think?
I think that every game is really challenging, and that feeling of success after our games when we do win, it's really rewarding. I think this year especially, the game against Brookline was definitely a big challenge. It was, we had it away, and it was during a really rainy day, and just being able to see the team pushing through and being successful even in those difficult conditions. I think in the moment it was pretty tough, but the fact that we were able to push through was definitely one of the most moments that gave me the most pride.
Awesome. And so Tabitha, if you're still here with us, I'd pose the same question to you. Tabitha, what is one of, I guess, your favorite moments, would you say, from your time playing rugby at Belmont, would you say?
That's actually a really hard question because there's a lot, but I think one of my favorites was probably this year when we played our game against Weymouth. I think that game was a really hard game because they really put up a good fight, and I think just like being tackled really hard by them, and I think really just watching the team kind of like push through with every phase and kind of switching up the way that we choose to play together, and just like our adaptivity towards their pattern play was really fun to watch, because with every phase I could feel like we were kind of like adapting and basically to what they were putting down. And I think just watching us become flexible based on what we're seeing in front of us was really fun, and it made the game more enjoyable to play.
So I have a question for you, Tabitha. What would you say is a profile of somebody who is cut out for rugby? What kind of makes somebody be good at the game or even want to play the game? What would the profile of a typical player look like, say for some youngster watching this show here today?
I would say that it does not matter what you look like at all. If you're just looking to play a sport, I guess what I was told, was if you want to hit people and you want to have fun, join rugby because there's no specific profile. If you're looking to have fun and play a sport that not many people get the chance to play, I would definitely pick rugby.
Yeah.
And anyone can play the sport.
Got you. So I pose this question to Robin, because Tabitha, you gave us a little bit when you first joined about your history with the sport. But Robin, if you're still with us, how did you get into rugby? I mean, is it a sort of thing at Belmont where if you're even a little bit interested, it's like you got to come out and hit the pitch? Like, Robin, when it comes to you, what's your history with the sport and how did you find your way in to playing for this program?
So actually, I knew nothing about rugby before I joined in freshman year. I honestly had no clue about the rules. I knew nothing. But my sister was joining the same year that I was joining. And so, of course, I was like, she must be so cool, then I got to do it too. So that was my first introduction to rugby. I had no clue about the rules. I was just excited to play a spring sport, to make new friends, to have fun. But honestly, it's been one of the best decisions that I've made for my high school career. And if anybody watching this is even the slightest bit interested in playing rugby, I would say go for it because it's such a fun sport and it's truly amazing the people that you'll find.
So I have a question for you too, Robin, in terms of the social activity involved. You said, friends off the field and on the field, and that converts to it. I don't have a lot of background in rugby, but I remember back in college, it seemed like the players who were involved with rugby were more interested in what was going on after the game, the socialization. Can you talk a little bit about that part of the total enterprise that is rugby?
Yeah, so we like to say at Belmont that rugby is more than a game, and I think that is really shown kind of throughout the state of Massachusetts. For us, our tradition is that after every game, we order pizza and share with the team that's come to play with us, and other teams will do the same. It's a very big thing in rugby culture where after the game, everyone comes together and has some kind of social gathering, just to kind of congratulate and show respect to the fact that you all play the sport and you all have accomplished something. You've worked really hard. And I think that the culture of rugby is just very welcoming. And I think we try to do a lot of stuff just to make sure that everyone feels welcomed in this community and kind of building up those relationships too.
Well, I'm glad things haven't changed because when I went to college back in the Middle Ages, that was true about rugby then. It was a very social time, and here you're giving testimony. It still is here today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I would ask this of you, Robin, and then ask Tabitha the same in a moment. I think you said, Robin, so this is senior year for you as well, your last go-around. I'm curious to know, I don't know how much you've been thinking about it or been trying not to, and if you've been trying not to think about it, I'm so sorry, I'm going to bring it up. This is the last run, it's the last ride. I don't know when it comes to Belmont and being a girls rugby player, if winning the state title if that's sort of like earning your stripes, if that's just keeping the sort of the reign of dominance going. But have you given much thought about that at all, with this just being the last run with this group, and how does that make you feel?
I mean, it's always looming in the end. We do work every day at practice just to kind of build up our strategy, take it one game at a time. I think a lot of the team obviously thinks about the state final as, the end goal. But we have to make sure that we are focusing like day after day on what we're doing in the moment and, making sure that we focus on the little things so that we can get to that bigger thing in the end.
Absolutely. And I guess just last question, and you saying this, Robin, made me think of this. So Tabitha, as you being a player that's gone through freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year, you, like Robin said, came into the sport, maybe didn't really know what the sport was about, didn't really know what was going on, but now as seniors, the both of you, I'd imagine are those senior leaders, you know, on a team and a program that has been strong for these last few years. So I'd be curious to know, Tabitha, what's it been like for you as a senior now and going from freshman year where you're coming in sort of saying like, okay, how is the sport played, to now being a leader within the program? How do you feel like that progression has been, and how do you feel like you sort of tried to live up to that role as a senior this year?
I think as a senior this year, I think it's been definitely like more challenging, but it's also definitely put me in the headspace that like I'm going away next year and then I won't be able to play another season with Belmont, which has made me, I think, kind of like channel into that leader role more, because I remember my seniors, my freshman year, and just how welcoming and how like fun they made the sport for me. So I think just trying to like replicate that for the underclassmen now, and just like everyone who plays rugby, I think it's really important for me that what's in the back of my head every time I go to practice is like, how can I create a space where these underclassmen will hopefully continue to play rugby till their senior year and kind of go through the program. And I think just like creating that space is just what's been in the back of my head.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much to Tabitha and Robin from Belmont Girls Rugby for joining us. As I mentioned, when it comes to Belmont being a program that's won so consistently these last 6 years, it takes a lot for a team to be good for so long. And as you mentioned, Tabitha, I'm sure like when you came in as a freshman, there were those girls that were older than you that helped you come along and probably had the same thoughts that you had. Like, we want to keep everybody engaged, play until senior year. And so it's really cool that you and yourself and girls like Robin are now doing that for the underclassmen. So thank you again to Tabitha and Robin from Belmont Girls Rugby for joining us, and best of luck the next few weeks, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you once again to the ladies from Belmont Girls Rugby for joining us. Well, I guess it makes sense now after talking to those two why they've been so strong this program these last few years.
What great ambassadors for their school, for themselves, and for the sport of rugby. Just to look like terrific kids, and so proud of their tradition of that school, which they've helped build upon, right? All those championships in a row. So that's really good. I wonder if BC maybe is just one last shot, see if they're...
Maybe. We'll take a half-court three. Are the BC Eagles from Division I boys rugby?
We're here.
Hey, boys! I say, appreciate, hey.
There you go.
This is where champions are made. We don't give up. We stick with it, and we keep this thing going. So thank you so much for sticking around, guys. Once again, this is a couple of the gentlemen from the BC High Eagles boys rugby team. So gentlemen, we talked a little bit about you at the top. So what you guys have been able to do this year, and obviously your success last year as well in that championship game against Severian, and you've been able to have another great campaign here going into the postseason. But before we get into it, for the people that don't know, and just if you could introduce yourselves, I guess starting with anybody, just introduce yourselves to the crowd here.
All right, I'm Charlie Thomason. I'm a senior, and I play fullback.
I'm Mikey Smith, and I play prop, also senior.
Conrad Babka, I'm a senior, and I play 8-man.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, like I said. So take us behind the curtain a little bit as much as you guys can. I'm just taking a look at it here on paper. The undefeated reigning champions we've got sitting in front of us. You've answered the bell every time so far, every time it's been put in front of you. But now this is where the real fun is, the postseason. So you've got the championship pedigree. And last year's team was special. That goes without saying. But every year, every team is different. You got guys that graduate. You maybe have an underclassman that shows you something that you didn't think that they might have had to come into this year. What has it been about this year's group that has just been so special and maybe unique in comparison to the other teams you guys have been a part of?
I think it's really been about like how passionate we are. This team has been incredibly passionate. Like, we care so much. At every practice, we're trying to be perfect. At every rep, we're trying to be the best we can be. And I think we're incredibly close off the field too, which is something very unique that I don't think we've had before. like all of us hang out together across grade levels, after school, after practice. So it just makes it easier for us to connect on the field. And if you combine like the chemistry we have with how much we love playing together, like it's a dangerous combo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and tell us about your season, 5-0. Zavarian, 36-35. What was that game like? Obviously pretty close.
Yeah, I would say, like in the first half, we went up on them early, and like it felt good. But then in the second half, like we kind of took our foot off the gas, and then they ended up going up. Charlie had a clutch kick in the end, penalty kick to put us ahead, and we were able to secure it. But that was one of those ones where we needed to keep the foot on the gas, and we didn't do that well, and we let them crawl back into it. But getting the win was all that mattered, I guess, in the end.
Yeah, you guys could play them again, possibly down the road here in a little bit.
Yep.
Charlie, you're up for it?
Yep, yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
So and this is what we were just speaking. I don't know if you guys were able to see to some of the girls rugby players at Belmont, just speaking to them just about the sport of rugby, just because it's been growing exponentially. It appears like these last few years within the state, the MIAA, there's more interest, it feels like, than there really has ever been, at least from my perspective. So I guess I would pose it really to any of you, but I guess I'll throw it to Charlie. Charlie, what's your experience with rugby? How did you get into rugby? Did it start at BC High? Did you come in as a freshman and gave it a shot? Did you play before? What's your history, and why do you feel like people should play if they haven't before?
Yeah, so my first year playing was freshman year. At the time, I wasn't playing a spring sport, and the previous 2 years in the middle school here, spring sports were sort of thrown off because of COVID in 7th grade, and then 8th grade, we sort of had a weird season. So I ended up playing soccer in the fall and football in the spring. And then freshman year, I had nothing to do, so I was like, I'm going to give rugby a try. And I honestly never looked back. It's been enjoyable the past 4 years. And I'm playing in college too, so it's honestly just I'm looking forward to that and staying with it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, once again, these are the Eagles of BC High, the undefeated reigning champs. They're going to look to get themselves another one here in the next few weeks. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for sticking around and the perseverance to work through the technical difficulties. Again, this is where champions are made. And so I appreciate you guys sticking around. And best of luck here in the next few weeks.
Thank you so much.
All right. Those are the Eagles of BC High as they go again and try and soar toward another championship. And so that was some rugby talk to all the rugby people out there. Hopefully you enjoyed the chats we've been able to have with the girls from Belmont and the gentlemen from BC High. But we're gonna set, dig, and kill our way over to volleyball. See, I know some terminology.
Pretty good.
I kind of know.
Very well done.
So let's see. Can I maybe do a set and set up the Agawam boys volleyball team, who I think will be joining us here in a second. They are the top seed, if I'm not mistaken, in the Division II bracket for boys volleyball, and would love to have a little chit chat with them. Do we have anybody from the Agawam boys volleyball team here? Going once? Going twice?
They are here. They're just not talking right now.
Let's see. We might have them. They are just kind of getting themselves set up. But as they get set up here, Pete, we can take a look at Division II before we bring the Brownies on, just to kind of see what we have here. What jumps out to you as it relates
first
to
of all, in versus the other divisions, there's a lot of teams in this division. So there's 38, 34, something like that. 38 teams, I think, playing in this division, which is huge. And at the top of it is Agawam. So congratulations. I'm 19-2. They started, very strong. They won their first 5, lost to Chicopee Comprehensive, then came back and won 13 in a row, and then lost in the Westfield in the Western Mass Class A Championship just recently. So a lot of runs for them. It's hard to score on them. It's hard to win a match. They swept a match 13 times, 3-0. So that's a tribute to them. They've only lost one game 3 times, so 3-1 victories on 3 occasions, and 3-2 victories on just 2 occasions. Then the loss to Chicopee Comprehensive 3-1, and then the loss to Westfield 3-1. So it's not only a great record, but it's hard to win a game against them.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if they were winning games in 5 sets and sort of squeaking by, but if you can win a set against a team like Agawam, that might be something to write home about. So,
exactly.
So I think we did have some players from Agawam here in the Bay. Are they around? Any players from Agawam here to join the show? Maybe, maybe not. We'll just have to maybe sing their praises for them. And I got no issue doing it. But to take a look at the rest of that division, I think, do we have anybody from Agawam?
Are you able to see the team, or are you just able to see Coach?
Whoever you got.
I think, who can we see? I see you right now, Coach.
All right, awesome.
All right, well, Coach, thanks so much for joining.
Around so we can see the boys.
What's that, Coach?
I'm here with the guys, too. They're on the Zoom, but not sure what the issue is with the connection here.
Are the guys in the room?
They are. They sure are.
All right. Well, if you feel good throwing them, if we're on the phone, you can throw it their way.
All right.
Oh, here we go. Oh, now we're kind of working. Now we're working. We got the three gents on the laptop.
Thank you, guys.
All right, gents. Thank you so much. Can you hear us?
Yep.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining the show. We got some players here from top-seeded. Can't not say that. Top-seeded Agawam in the Division II boys volleyball state tournament, joining us to take a look at their season a little bit. So, boys, before we get going here, if you could just introduce yourselves.
My name is Joseph Colhane. I'm one of the captains for Agawam Volleyball, and I'm the outside hitter.
My name is David Gingeruha. I'm the other captain, and I am a setter.
My name's Kyle Douglas. I'm the third captain, and I am an outside hitter.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time as you get ready mentally and physically here for the state tournament to chat with us for a little bit. So one of the first things that jumps out, or that I'd love to ask you guys, just looking at the body of work you guys have put together this year, last year, the year before, obviously winning a state championship a few years ago. That team 2 years ago that won a title, obviously special. Last year's team, super talented, made it to the semis, obviously special. You look at what you guys have been able to do this year, been on a special regular season run, just consistency from beginning of the spring to now. But I guess I would pose the question, and I guess I'll throw it to you, David. Why do you think this year's team has had so much success? Obviously, every year a team is different, whether it be stylistically, the guys you've got on the team. But when it comes to 2025, Agawam boys volleyball, why do you feel like you guys have been so as strong as you have been?
I feel like since we've been together since sophomore year on the court playing together, we have a strong connection. We trust each other to pick up the ball, to put it in a good spot, and we practice really hard. We get the job done.
Sounds pretty simple. Tell us about your season. You started really strong, 5 in a row. A little hiccup against Chicopee Comprehensive. Then you run off 13 in a row before losing in the Western Mass Finals. How would you say you were able to sustain those early wins, then the one loss, and a huge rebound after that loss with 13 straight? How have you been able to accomplish all of that? Maybe Joe could start.
I think a lot of it starts in the practice gym. We don't just practice, thinking we're the best. We know losses and hiccups are going to come in our season, and we have to practice a lot of our mentality, keeping each other up. Chicopee Comp was a good team. There's a lot of great teams that we're going to play this season. We knew, it's not going to be an easy road all the way to the finals. So it was kind of like we've been practicing for this. All of volleyball is a mental game. As long as our mental strength is up there, we know we're not going to be able to get set back by hiccups like that. It was a tough loss, but I think it made us better. Kind of humbled us a little bit. So, after that loss, we have just been straightforward with the goal for the state finals, playing better than we have.
And just taking a look at the teams that you guys play and just looking at this division generally, Western Mass heavily represented at the top of this division when it comes to these top seeds. So, the 4-1-3 stand up with just looking at these seeds. And obviously, we mentioned a team like Westfield in addition to yourselves. Played Westfield 3 times this year, so you've seen plenty of them. Teams like West Springfield, Chicopee Comp, of course you played against Longmeadow, all roughly top 10 seeds, all teams in the top 10. So obviously, you guys need to take care of business, as I'm sure is your mindset when it comes to the early rounds, and every match, every set is going to be just sort of one after the other to focus on. But if you guys are able to get to that point of the postseason, again, deep in the postseason, there's a pretty decent likelihood that you're going to see a team that you've already seen before, whether it be a program like Westfield, potentially for a 4th time, West Springfield, Comp, or Longmeadow. So when it comes to that regular season that you guys have, playing against other really good Western Mass competition, how does that help you guys when it comes to, you'd imagine a lot of teams get to the state tournament and they see a team that they maybe have never even seen before, or they might not even know where the school is from. But so I guess I'd pose it to you, Kyle, your guys' regular season schedule and playing those really good Western Mass teams, how much do you feel like that's going to help you guys going forward into these next few weeks?
Well, playing these teams in the regular season, it's we kind of know how they play, and they also know how we play, and it's kind of like a back and forth. Teams like Westfield and Westside, they're really good teams, especially this year, and it's a great game every time we play them. And I think going into the state playoff and knowing, or probably will be playing either Westfield or Westside, I think that's just a great team to play because we've already played them multiple times, and they're friends with us because we're next door neighbors pretty much. And I think it's just going to be an overall great game.
Cool. And I'd pose this to really any of you, whether it be Joe, David, or Kyle. When I think about, at least me personally, I think about Western Mass boys volleyball. The first 2 schools that come to mind are you guys and Westfield. I know you just mentioned, obviously, great depth in Western Massachusetts with programs like West Springfield, like Longmeadow, like Chicopee Comp. But I know coming out of that Western Mass Championship against Westfield, obviously a program you guys are familiar with. I'm sure you all know each other, whether it be through club or other things, and playing them as many times as you guys do. But I'm sure for you guys, you don't need much when it comes to motivation because, when it's Agawam boys volleyball, you guys are always going to find a way to stay motivated. But coming out of that championship, that Western Mass Championship loss with Westfield, you can only learn so much from wins, but you can learn a lot from losses. What are those things on the whiteboard for you guys coming out of that match to sort of say, like, hey, what did that match do for you guys going forward, do you think?
I think it's going to make us dig way deeper. I mean, for the past 10 years or so, Westfield has always been dominant. It hasn't always been us. And these last couple of years have been our year, and we want to keep it that way. Losing like that in a championship game definitely hurt us. But I think it's going to give us that drive to practice harder than we have and, to really bring back our name. You know what I mean? We want to be the champions. Like, this is our season, and we're just going to keep pushing and practicing the hardest we can to make sure that happens.
Awesome. Cool.
Let me ask about the support from your school. Is there a lot of school spirit around the Agawam boys volleyball team these days?
Definitely more than it was in the past, 100%. You know what I mean? We have a lot of people who know we're a good team. We're bringing volleyball. It's becoming a much bigger sport. The last few years, we've had more people try out than ever. A lot more fans than ever. A lot of people are starting to realize how great of a sport volleyball really is, and they love to watch it. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. What do you like about the sport when you actually get into a match?
I would say my favorite part of volleyball is everyone has to contribute to each point. It's not where it's just, say I'm the point guard and I run dribble up the court and score a 3. I can do that all over the whole game. But with volleyball, you need a good pass, you need a good set, you need a good outside hitter, right side hitter, middle hitter that can put in a good spot. I would say you need a strong team effort, strong team connection, and a bond with each person on the court. And it's unlike any other sport, really fun to play, hype stands, and I love the sport.
Yeah. Sometimes when the ball's coming over the net, the first tendency could be to hit it right back, but there's another art to the game to kind of set up a better play, a better pass, set up somebody else for a better spike or blast through the over the net. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Good.
Thank you so much, Joe, David, and Kyle from Agawam Boys Volleyball for joining us. The Brownies going for their 3rd state championship in program history. They did it in 2013. They did it in 2023 as well.
And we're wondering too, Gage, if the coach might still be on. Maybe we have a quick word from him. Thank you, fellas. Is your coach still
fellas.
around?
We got Coach still in the building?
I can go grab him. I believe he's right outside.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll grab Coach.
It's live TV.
Yeah, it's, we already had our technical difficulties with BC High, so, I mean, we're hanging. We're chilling out. We're chilling. But, yeah, thank you so much to Joe, David, and Kyle for coming through the chat. Let's see. We got Coach in the building.
Hey, guys.
Hey, there he is.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. So could you, just for the fans at home that don't know, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Coach Kevin Pender, and pretty excited. This is, year 2016 is when I started with Agawam High School as a varsity coach, so year 12-13, but excited to be on board with these guys.
Yeah, so Coach Pender, we were just talking to your guys here for a little bit, just about the year that they've had. Just really top to bottom, a really good year. I mean, they have the Calluses from that comp match, and I know that Westfield match, just recently in the Western Mass Championship. But I'm sure, as you know, as a coach, the kids maybe do a lot of learning after losses, after some reflection to maybe get themselves ready to go again. But when it comes to this year's group, as I'm sure, you've had plenty of really good ones, and I'm sure they've all been different in their own ways. What makes this year's group different and unique, maybe in comparison to the ones you've had before?
I think it's some of the trials and tribulations we've gone through on the court, off the court, and just growth since coming back. I mean, a lot of these guys were on board with us after 2023 when we got our first championship in a decade, second for the program. So I think they're hungry for it. They know what it takes. But this senior laden, starting lineup and team is really, I think they're hungry. I think that's the best way to put it there. We've been looking for it all season, and we've been challenged a few times and able to battle through it. But I think we're built for this. Our bench is strong, and we didn't play our best game on Saturday that I think we could have, but it was the exact lessons we needed to learn before the state tournament. So we stay hungry, we stay humble, and we stay to the grindstone.
What are some of the points of emphasis that you have as a coach for this program in practice and so forth, even leading up to a game? What do you try to focus on for your team?
Well, this is one of those, I wish I could hear what these guys said. I hope that they take away that mistakes are an opportunity to learn.
Yeah,
it's okay to make mistakes in practice, and we have to go through some of those growing pains in order to get better and move forward. And I think, a lot of our culture kind of deals with the unity, the family aspect. We chant it a lot in practice and in games, but I think it really comes down to when the game is on the line, do we trust each other? Do we have the effort and accountability and that competitive mindset to really see it through to the end? And I think these guys do. I think they're built for it, and we have a lot of strong leadership, these three gentlemen in the room, and we have a strong bench where I don't think there's a hesitation to look to the next guy to come in and do his job.
And it all starts with somebody serving the ball to start. Is that a point of emphasis for you? Good service.
Yeah, service pressure is a big part of our game. When we're in system, we're doing it well. We're a tough serving team until we don't serve the ball in bounds, and then I think that gives the other team a little chance to creep in. When we're serving tough from the service line, it's tough for anyone to stay with us, but we're also a strong serve-receive team, so we have one of the best setters in the state, if not the best in my opinion. So I think when we're passing well, our offense is grooving, and when we're serving well, there's no weak link in our armor when we're doing what we need to do and what we train to do in the gym every day. But yeah, serving's a part of almost every activity we do, even if we miss a few on game day. We're okay to eat a few, but we're going to be tough.
Right. And Coach, we were just talking to the guys about this a minute ago, just about Western Mass boys volleyball, especially in this division. You look at the top of Division II, obviously yourselves up there, Westfield, West Springfield, Chicopee Comp, Longmeadow, all in the top 10, really in that top group in this division. For the people that just might not know about Western Mass boys volleyball, and its strengths, especially not just in this division, but overall statewide. Those teams, you've already played most, if not all, in the regular season. You've already seen them. I'm sure a lot of your guys are very familiar with the guys, whether it be from Westfield or West Springfield. I'm sure there's maybe some club mix going on in there. I'm sure everybody knows everybody a little bit. I'm sure after the matches, the group chats are going pretty nuts. We probably should ask the guys about that. Probably hitting each other up on the text. But
that would have been a good one to hit.
But when it comes to, I guess the question is, when it comes to just the preparation for the state tournament run that you guys are hoping to go on, if you guys get to where you want to be, the teams that you're probably going to see are teams you've already seen, if not once, twice, maybe 3 times. So if you guys are able to get to that point, how helpful is that regular season that you guys have, and having such great Division II boys volleyball programs all just surrounding you, basically?
I think that's what makes us great from the beginning is we get to train with these guys. They're our neighbors. We do play club with them. I get to coach some of those guys. But that's also what makes it so hard is we're seeing these guys so often right next door. And, they're not unfamiliar to us and we're not unfamiliar to them. So it's not like they have to do a huge scouting report to see what we got. They're right with us in the thick of it. And people say it's tough to beat a team 3 times, all that. We do it every match. We got to get 3 wins. It's not impossible to win 3 matches because we win 3 sets every game. It's what we do. We're not really overshadowed by that, like, oh my God, the jitters. We got to go out and play our game and play it better than they're doing, on their side of the net. I can scout West Springfield, Westfield, Chicopee, Compy, Long Meadow, all I want, but at the end of the day, it's these guys serving and passing and playing our game, what we train in the gym, that's going to get the job done or come up short. So,
absolutely,
we do our homework, yeah. But we have to execute our plan. Otherwise, it's just film.
Absolutely. Well, Agawam looking to hopefully execute, their way back to the state championship. Get, as you mentioned, Coach, looking for the 3rd in program history. Coach Pender, thank you so much for hopping on. Best of luck to you and your guys here during the next few weeks.
Appreciate you having our guys on to be a part of this great experience.
Absolutely. Thanks again to Agawam. That's the top seed, I should say. Again, Agawam boys volleyball team in Division II. As I said, Pete, when you think about Western Mass boys volleyball, you got to have Agawam top of mind.
Yeah. Sounds like a great coach. He seems to have things under control. He's going to learn hard from that loss in the Western Mass Classic, and he's going to take that forward and build on for a good run, I think, for the Agawam team going forward here.
Absolutely. And if we could just stay in Division II boys volleyball, I just want to take more of a look here at this bracket. We did mention Agawam being that number 1 seed. If you are just joining us, we're looking at Division II boys volleyball right now. We just spoke with some players and Coach Pender from Agawam. The Brownies made it to the semifinals last year before losing to Wayland. They're 19-2 this year. As we mentioned, they're coming off that loss in the Western Mass Championship against Westfield. One of their only 2 losses. They lost to Chicopee Comp in early April, but as you mentioned, Pete, they were able to bounce back, go on quite a run the rest of the regular season. They're going for 3rd title in program history. They won it in 2013. They won it in 2023 when these seniors were sophomores. So they're, I'm sure, motivated to get one more before they head out and graduate. And just looking at the key contributors when it comes to Agawam, and we just spoke to a few of them, but I see when it comes to Joseph Colhane, he's one of the region's best outside hitters at Agawam. Had a team, and he also had a team high 143 digs, and was 2nd in kills on the team last season with 198. So that's always good when you get a kid back like that.
That's an unbelievable combination of digs and kills. Maybe you're expert in one, but how about in both, being a leading in both categories?
Hey, a bit of a Swiss Army knife. Very, very versatile, Mr. Colhane is. So he's been strong again this season, so great guy to have back. And speaking of versatility, another versatile playmaker for Agawam, David Dizen Zaruka, incredibly versatile. He's involved in almost everything Agawam does defensively. And on offense. So a really good player to have. A couple really good players Agawam obviously has this year. But we did mention Westfield, the program that won the state championship last year, we should say, the reigning champions. They won in 5 sets over Wayland. And that was the team's 2nd in 3 years, 2nd title in 3 years for the Bombers, and their 5th overall since 2017. So they are the number 2 seed. As mentioned, they had that huge win over Agawam in the Western Mass Championship over the last weekend. And before that, they lost both regular season matches to Agawam. So there's, I guess, 3rd time the charm for Westfield in that title game, turned it around, won their 9th regional title in team history. And a couple of guys that have help them get there, I'm looking at Nolan Rogers. He's the team's libero, back again this year. Had a great year last year, and he's doing it again. He had over 300 digs last season, so obviously a really good guy to bring back. And then I look at the attack. I look at Zach Kukarchuk. Is back again this year for the Bombers. He shined in the title match last year, had 18 kills. He came up big. He had over 270 on the year last spring, and he's been strong again this season as well. And just taking another look around, or continuing to look around, they mentioned Westside, the players did, that being West Springfield, another Western Mass program, sitting at number 4, the number 4 seed. The Terriers made it to the quarterfinals last year. And their only losses this season are to Westfield and Agawam. Big contributors for them have been Alexander Back. He had over 270 kills last season. He has over 500 on his career, having another strong year. Just a really consistent player for them. I see Ruvim, Derevianchuk. He leads the team in blocks for the Terriers, and he's back. And there's Prasanta Bondari, who has been strong at the service line and leading in aces. So if you love Western Mass, I mean, there are programs from all over the map. Obviously, Wayland in that mix as well, locked down that number 3 seed, if I'm correct. But this is big top of the division for the Western Mass people.
And even you go a little further, you got Chicopee Comprehensive at 5. You have East Longmeadow at 6 and Longmeadow at 7. So right there, there'll be no Final Four entirely of Western Mass contributors because Wayland is there at number 3, as you mentioned.
Right. And taking a look at some of those early matchups, as I do, I love those matchups early on with the seeds that are in the teens, because that's when you really get the really good competitive stuff. I see number 17 Doherty's going to go on the road to Bellingham, number 17 versus number 16. So that'll be a really competitive round of 32 matchup. And I'm seeing number 18 Pioneer Valley Christian, another Western Mass program, will be going on the road to number 15 Millis for a competitive round of 32. But the best thing when it comes to the first round of the state tournament, doesn't matter what sport it is you always try and find the short drive. So there's 2 things I'm sure a program looks for in a first round matchup: short drive, competitive. And I'm seeing number 36 Bill Ricca going on the road to number 29 Greater Lawrence Tech. So that's not too bad of a ride.
Nope.
Not bad at all. So shout out to everybody from Bill Ricca and Greater Lawrence Tech. I'm sure the parents are very happy. Don't have to drive too far. So a really interesting division. Division 2 is this year. And if we want to stick with volleyball, if we may, I want to take a look at Division 1, Division 1 boys volleyball. And in some ways similar to Division 2, if Division 2 is heavy on the top with Western Mass, Division 1 is heavy at the top with Bay State Conference. If you're looking at Division 1 boys volleyball, the Bay State Conference is going to be represented in a very healthy way. 5 of the top 10 seeds, including numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, are Bay State Conference programs. And before we get into those programs, if you missed any of last year's action, Newton North took home that championship last year, a Bay State Conference program, beat Needham in 5 sets. Needham had won 3 titles in a row before the Tigers came through, just in a classic match last year in 5 sets. But the Tigers, they are the reigning champs. I see Brookline at number 1, Natick at number 2, Needham, the last year's state finalist, at 3, and Newton North at 4. But what jumps out to you, Pete, as it relates to this division?
Well, as you mentioned, heavy emphasis on Bay State conferences. I mean, you look at Brookline, you look at their record 18-1, tremendous run. They've had sweeps in their matches 14 times. 14 times, Coach mentioned from Agawam. It's not that hard. You win 3. You can beat a team 3 times in the same season. They've done it 3 times all season, 14 different occasions. 3-0 rather, not 3 times. 14 times, 3-0. So they're difficult to win against. And their one loss, team you mentioned, Natick, that was a 5-set match, 3-2. It could very well be that those 2 teams meet somewhere down the road, Natick being the number 2 seed, Brookline number 1. And so, but you look at Brookline, you have to say, wow, what a year they're having. Won their first 10 matches, lost 1, and then finished with 8 in a row. So just that one little blip in the middle, that was to Natick, 3-2.
Yeah, and leading that way for the Warriors has been Chris Vavars. He's been strong on the attack for the Warriors, leads the team in kills. And yeah, you mentioned that only loss was a barn burner against Natick. And speaking of Natick, they locked down that number 2 seed. Just looking at their guys, they got Branch Barnes leading the way on offense. He's been phenomenal, just racking up the kills. They're the only team to have beaten Brookline so far this year, as we mentioned, and that was earlier in the year. They did start the season with back-to-back losses to Brookline. They played them multiple times, lost to Brookline and Needham back-to-back to start the year, but since then have been dominant. 12 of their 16 wins have been sweeps. So Natick, their body of work gets them that number 2 seed. Mentioned Needham at number 3, the Rockets, last year's state finalists. They're back in the mix. But what interests me is I look at Newton North, 13-7, and they've earned the number 4 seed. Tough end to the regular season, losing 5 of their last 6, but they've got the battle scars. They've got the calluses. They've been through the ringer, but they're still here. They've locked down a top 5 seed, so it could serve them well here in the postseason to go through those trials and tribulations to be here now. And Simon Varda, an outside hitter for the Tigers, a player to watch for them as the postseason goes on as well.
Well, that's the beauty of postseason play, right? You can lose a few as they did down the stretch, but now you close the book, turn on to the next chapter, playoff. Everybody is 0-0 going into the championship.
Absolutely. And if there are some other seeds, didn't mention as well, Lexington locked down the number 5 seed, Nipmuc at number 6, number 7, Cambridge Ridge and Latin, and some Western Mass representation. Springfield Central locked down that top 10 seed. Number 10, I think the only Western Mass team in Division 1, maybe Holyoke as well, but they were able to lock down that top 10 seed, the Golden Eagles were. And I did want to take a look, I don't know if we were able to before, a little bit of, just to talk a little bit more about Division 2 boys rugby, just to take a look at them, just to sort of jump back a little bit. I know we were able to talk to the gentleman from BC High for Division 1 boys rugby, but just to take a peek here at Division 2 if we can as well. That division for boys rugby interests me because the reigning champions from last year are no longer in the division. Weymouth won that Division 2 title last year, moved their way up to Division 1 to start this year. So Weymouth had defeated Hanover in the final last year, and now Hanover this year undefeated and are that number 1 seed. I know they'd gone through the difficulties in the last 3 years. They had fallen in the title game. And now, as the number 1 seed, this might be their year. In their first 4 games of this season, they outscored their opponents 194-29. A couple of guys that have been really important for them: Lachlan Garvey, David Bonilla, and last year's league MVP Aiden Booton have led the way. 17 seniors on that program. So although they don't have the motivator, this is a really cool story what this program's been able to do in recent weeks. They don't have the motivator to beat Weymouth this year, but they do have the motivation to play for one of their teammates, Noah Balsowitz, also known as Bowser. He's battling lymphoma, was diagnosed just within the last month, but he has been, I was reading a phenomenal story this morning about how they've sort of rallied around him and been playing for him. They all shaved their heads and they're playing for him. And I was happy to see reading that he's doing well right now, Noah is, and hope the best for him going forward. But Hanover, they've locked down that top seed, and they seem to be in a pretty good spot moving forward in D2 for rugby. But there's also Chelmsford, the only other undefeated team in the division on the other side of the bracket. They're going to need to, if they want to stay undefeated and find a way to take out Hanover, they're going to have to find a way to get through a combination of Hingham, Malden Catholic, and Brookline if they want to get to the title match on the opposite side of the bracket.
Well, you mentioned, Gage, in volleyball, so many of those teams in Western Mass played each other. Well, here, Hanover has not played Chelmsford yet this season, both undefeated, so that would be an interesting potential matchup of 2 teams that probably know about each other, but not having experienced game competition with each other.
Absolutely.
Gives it a little different twist. But, a tremendous scoring advantage. 281 points scored to only giving up 57, and that includes 2 shutouts, one over Lincoln Sudbury 50-0, and a close one with Braintree 10-0. It's interesting.
Yeah, well, a lot of student athletes here are going to get their opportunity in the next few weeks to make their mark, maybe either for the first time or for the last time, as seniors. And so it's going to be a lot of fun to watch during these next few weeks exactly what happens, how it all goes down, who's going to be able to be a champion, and maybe there'll be a team that we don't see coming that we didn't talk about right now. We like to think we're pretty good at analyzing these brackets, Pete, and I think we are. But who knows? There might be a team that sort of jumps out that we weren't prepared for and sort of makes their mark.
Yeah, exactly. Division II does not have a lot of teams in the tournament. Just the 7 teams Hanover gets by for the opening round series, so they'll be in good shape. Yeah, you wondered how many new dreams will be created this year, how many dreams will be realized in the 2 sports we're featuring today, rugby and boys volleyball.
Well, it's been a phenomenal hour here breaking down these brackets, not just for the UP, but for all of our guests from Belmont Girls Rugby, BC High Boys Rugby, Agawam Boys Volleyball. It's been great to hear from all the student athletes and to get their perspective on the years they've been having. And I just want to thank not only you, but everybody here at Franklin TV for having me here and hosting the show. It's been really fun. And I'm looking forward to another great spring postseason.
It should be great. Can't wait for the next few days to get this thing started.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. And thank you again to Franklin TV. If you want to get your tickets to go see, whether it be your loved one, family member, in their postseason match or game, go to MIAA.net for more info and check out GoFan to get your tickets. If you want to read more coverage of any of these state tournament games as we move forward, check out masslive.com for more info. Once again, I'm Gage Nutter with Mass Live. Thanks so much for joining us.